Welcome to the course. What is the software testing goals? Can anyone say what is the purpose of software testing in general? So what do you think? Can you post in the chat? What is software testing? What generally people are expected to do as part of software testing job? Software testing is a part of the software development lifecycle, right? Overall development lifecycle have many stages and many stakeholders are involved. Not only like software testers, there are business analysts, developers, there are scrum master, there are project managers, there are DevOps people. There are different kinds of roles and support and UAT, and there are many roles in the software industry. So software testing is one of the part of the software overall software development lifecycle. That's what my understanding. So our end goal is that the end user should be happy, right? So we should be delivering the quality product. So this is what everyone is currently saying in the chat. So we should be delivering the quality product, and there should not be any bugs. So end user, what is his goal, right? My product should be working fine, and I should not face any issues when I'm working on it. So for that, if you are doing with if you are having software testing, if you are not having software testing, that doesn't matter to him. So there are different levels of testing like unit testing, then integration testing, system testing, acceptance testing. If you are aware of these levels of testing, so in these levels of testing, different kinds of activities will happen. So in the unit testing, developers will generally write some test cases at the code level. So we'll discuss more about that in the test pyramid concept topic that I planned today. So in terms of the testing, right? So we'll have something called manual testing. So without any tools. So without using any tool, suppose if we are performing the testing by the user without any tools, right? That is generally termed in the industry called as manual testing, or people sometimes call it as also functional testing also. So whatever the terminology that we are using, that we are not going to use any automation, I mean any tools. It can be whatever tool, right? It can be Selenium or it can be Cypress or any tool. We are not using any tool in general. So this is being followed from beginning of the software projects whenever it started, maybe in 1980s or 1970s it started the software world, right? So and coming to automation testing with tools, so we are going to use some tools in order to perform some actions in order to achieve this automation testing, right? So we can use either any tools based on the tools also we are having some other slides, so we'll discuss more on that. So now let's quickly see why we need automation testing. Generally it is expected from the management, right? So why the project managers or delivery managers in the company are looking for automation testers? Like we are seeing like so many automation testing positions are open in the job market in general. So why it is like that? Can anyone say in the chat box why automation testing? Okay, reduce the testing time. Okay, increase the coverage, cover frequent regression, test software early. Okay, to avoid repeated testing every time. Okay, to avoid repetitive tasks, ensure quality in lesser time. Okay, reduce the efforts of executing same test cases. Okay, need to avoid time spent on regression cases, so they automate the regression tests. Okay, saves time and money. Okay, there are many points I think everyone is saying. So let's maybe I will be putting it in bullet points in these slides. Okay, save time, save money. I'll give something like this. So in general, but on a high level, like automation testing, we generally use to avoid the repetitive tasks. So what are the different repetitive tasks generally in the companies will be having, right? Smoke testing, regression testing, and there can be retesting or some kind of bug retesting, these kind of things, and there can be test data generation. So in various areas, the automation testing is being used. So it will be using to save the time and effort. So if we are testing one of the build today, right? So tomorrow a developer or somebody has changed the code in some page. So at that time we cannot daily go and check the same page again and again. So in order to avoid that, the repetitive tasks we generally want to automate. This is what the even the management is generally expecting, right? So they don't want the repetitive works to be daily done by the same person manually. So this is what they want to optimize the cost of the product delivery overall. So initially at the first instance, generally people are doing the exploratory testing or manual testing without any tools. But as we progress and add more and more features into the product, at that time we should not be doing the same things again and again, because even the customer will not be paying that much amount to the company, so they cannot deploy that many engineers daily to test the product. So that for that reason they will be optimizing the cost, and you try to automate the smoke testing. What is that it will cover is that it will generally cover the important features of all the basic level features of all the modules in the application. So it generally will have maybe some 20 to 30 cases. It can be even less than that also. And in general it should not take more than 30 minutes time. So smoke testing, if anyone is writing some suit, right, smoke testing automation suit, it should complete maybe 10 to 15 minutes or maybe 20 minutes. It depends on the company to company. Regression suit may have thousands of test cases, but smoke testing suit generally do not have that many cases. So it can have maybe 10 or 20 or max 30 cases. So for the purpose of smoke testing, why do we need smoke testing? So if any change has happened today, right? So there will be a new build generated for the testing environment and the UAT environment. So at that time, whenever a new build is generated, the test environment automation test cases will be triggered from the Git, and it will test all the smoke test cases, and there will be some email reports sent to the different teams saying these are passed, these are failed, and if anything is failed, either the developer or the tester need to go and check. It happens generally on a day-to-day basis or maybe 2-3 times per week. So this is the main thing about smoke testing. And regression testing, generally it happens every release, right? Some companies will have release every week. Some companies can have 2 weeks once the production release happening. So some companies may have for 1 month, maybe, or maybe 3 months also. So like this, the release process can be different for different companies based on the complexity of the architecture of that product, and how frequently the end user also needs the product, right? So based on that, the regression testing, what it will do, it will check the existing features are working or not working fine after some new changes are done in the same product with the new features or new modules are added. So this is the release timelines, but the regression testing, in general, some companies will maybe run it once in a release, but in general, it is expected that we run it maybe every day or every week, depending upon the how much time the test suite will take. If the test suite is having maybe 1,000 test cases, which is taking like maybe 5 hours or 10 hours, we don't know like how much time it can take depending on the project. So if the time is taking more, maybe the scheduled jobs will be there in terms of Jenkins, or there are many CI/CD tools in the market. If the company is using a specific tool like TeamCity or Jenkins or Azure DevOps, so these kind of tools can be used to trigger the scheduled jobs. So maybe once in a week or twice a week, or some companies generally run it every week, maybe 3 to 4 times also, depending on the resources and infrastructure available, right? It is also some cost to the company, so they will try to optimize that and run the suit frequently. And retesting, maybe if it is a one-time activity, automation is not useful. But if it is repetitively, we are changing some things and trying to retest some functionality, this may be same as regression testing. If it is a one-time activity, automation is not recommended. So automation is recommended only for repetitive tests and even test data generation. So if we want to generate some kind of test data for every automation case every day, right? So it's not recommended to hard code the data, or we should not be manually creating the data and then triggering the automation again and again, right? So we should also try to optimize our test data generation also using the automation testing. So coming to this automation pyramid topic, so maybe you have heard about it or you might have not heard about it. So, but this can be even asked in the interviews, or it can also be used to understand the software testing, maybe software development lifecycle overall better. So if you observe the test automation pyramid here, right? Let me make it full screen here. So it can be either called as the testing pyramid or test pyramid or automation pyramid. It can be called anything like this. So it is like generally this triangle shape. So at the bottom of the pyramid, we are having the unit test cases, and at the center of the pyramid, we are having the API test cases, and at the top of the pyramid, we are having this UI test cases. So what is generally like this is a traditional model of the pyramid, right? Given by some experienced people long back, maybe 20 to 25 years back. So what exactly they are telling that we should have more unit test cases whenever a software project is started. We should write some code level unit test cases. If it is a Java project, generally JUnit is preferred to write some unit test cases for every piece of code. Every unit of code that is written, the developers or the SDET people, whoever in the company, they will write some unit test cases. There are many unit testing frameworks in the market. For C Sharp, NUnit is used. JUnit is used generally for Java projects. So if you see the point at the right side, right, automated unit and API testing. So it will try to lower the cost, and execution time is also very less. So since we are just at the beginning of the project, if any bug is identified, we can quickly fix it in case of unit tests. But if either it is in the front end, if we are checking at the top of the pyramid, right, the UI test cases, so it will be generally the higher cost, because already a lot of development has happened and it is deployed to the lower environments. So first the development environment, then the testing environment, then the acceptance environment. If all these deployment has happened and suddenly some defect is found, right, so the cost of fixing this defect is very high. People need to spend more time, and also already 3 to 4 months has been passed for developing. So the cost is very high in case of UI test cases. Any bugs are identified. In case of API and unit, it is lower cost. If you see here in this pyramid, and it is very quick to execute because these are lightweight, and these do not need any user interface to be launched in case of unit test cases and API test cases. And there is less integration required in test environments and more reliable test cases. So unit tests and API tests are generally more reliable because there is no front end application need to be deployed in the environment. So like user will be seeing generally the UI environment, either it is a web application or a desktop or mobile screen, right? So these are all UI screens. So this is only visible to the user, but it will take some time to load the pages also. If we are clicking on navigating from one screen to another, so the time taken is also more, and the test cases are less reliable. If you see here the last point in the UI testing, it is saying less reliable test cases because due to maybe loading issues or some kind of issues, the test cases can be flaky and it can fail sometimes. But in case of unit and API testing, so these are more reliable. So this can be passing the reliability of test cases are more. So this is the traditional pyramid. So some companies, what they will have is they will have this inverted pyramid. So they will write more UI test cases. They will have less API test cases, and they have very minimal unit test cases. So if you are inverting this pyramid, right? So what will come? So the UI test cases will be at the top, will be the larger section, and the API will be at the center, and unit test cases will be minimal. So if here the UI is minimal, but inverted pyramid will have the unit test cases are very minimal. And some companies can have like it can be a flat structure also. Like unit test cases, API and UI test cases, all are in the same format. Like they have the suite which are having the number of test cases are same. So there is no particular exact structure that any company is generally following. It can be different based on the company and the project. So this is an generally like you can think it like a theoretical concept, but these are being understood by the companies and they are trying to follow that. So this can be even asked in the interviews in general. So what is test automation pyramid, or do you know about testing pyramid? They can ask it. So you can try to understand about this. So there are many blogs on the internet you can find on this topic. You can try to learn that. It will help you to understand, and whenever somebody asks any questions, you can able to answer easily. So what are the different things that are there in the automation pyramid? So coming to the automation testing tools in the market. So there are different kinds of tools in the market. So there are low code tools and no code tools. So there is no coding required for no code and low code tools. But the main drawback is the license is, I mean, there is a license fee involved. So in case of low code and no code tools, we need to pay some money, right? The company need to pay to the vendor some money. There are many low code and no code tools in the market. And coming to the job market also, if you are learning these tools, right, the scope of having the job openings are also very limited. There are some tools like Tosca and but Tosca, there are some certain openings, but certifications you need to do for Tosca. And low code, one more point. So in case of support, right, support also we need to depend on the vendor. So if we are paying some license fee and we are facing suddenly some issue in the software product, automation testing product, right? The vendor need to provide support, and that can be also chargeable sometimes. And if the vendor is not having maybe enough staff, right, they will be delaying our work also. There are many challenges when it comes to low code and no code. That's why the reason the many companies are preferring these open source tools. Open source tools are generally based on the code based tools only. So license can be there in case of UFT, right? Quick test professional, or unified functional testing. UFT is one tool. For example, I am saying, so it is based on VB script coding. So it is a code based tool. So VB script. But open source tools are generally preferred because there is a lot of support available in the market with multiple communities, right? So there are a lot of community support, and there are many experienced people in the market who are actively using these open source tools. So if any challenges we are facing in any open source tool, if we generally do Google search, or if we are going to some Google groups or somewhere, even the official GitHub repository is having this open source tool will have official Git repositories. So we can go there and connect with some experienced people in this tool, and we can get some help in case of open source code based tools. But in license based tool, we have to talk to that vendor only. There is no outside person who can help us to solve the problem. So we should go to the company whom we paid the money, and they only can solve the issue. So this is about the high level I just want to share on the automation testing tools in the market. So coming to code based tools, we need many programming languages available in the market, right? At least one programming language we generally need to learn in case of code based automation tools, suppose you want to learn. So there are many programming languages like Java, Python, C Sharp, then there is JavaScript, then there is TypeScript. So maybe you are confused like which programming language I need to learn. So I can say that based on my understanding, right, Java is mostly used around 60% even today in the market. So 10 to 20%, we can say maybe 10% Python people are using, and 10 to 15% of the market is automation on C Sharp. It can be less or more, but it is a high level. So maybe 50% is Java, Python is 15-20%, C Sharp can be 15-20%, and JavaScript, TypeScript can be around 10 to 20%. So recently, like tools like Cypress, Playwright, they are using this JavaScript. So in the current course, we are covering the Java programming language. There are enough opportunities available, even though Selenium is there from last 20 years. there are enough opportunities because there are many existing projects in the market which are using either Java or Python or C Sharp. For Selenium, coming to Selenium tool, these three are the main preferred languages in the job market. Any company is mainly using Java. The second preference is Python. Third preference is C Sharp. Okay, so coming to the automation testing tools in the market. So there are Selenium, Playwright, Cypress, REST Assured, APM, and there are tools like WebDriver, IO. All these are open source tools I have listed out here. Coming to Selenium, even though it is having some challenges whenever we are automating, there are a lot of job market, as I told, right? 60 to 70% of job market is there, and Playwright has started just 3 years back, around 2020 21 it has started. So maybe there are limited opportunities. So if you are learning Playwright along with Selenium, maybe good. Only Playwright, maybe the opportunities are very limited. Coming to Cypress, it can have maybe 10 to 20% of the job market is on Cypress today. So Cypress is only supporting JavaScript. It will not support other programming languages. Selenium will support like 5 to 6 programming languages: Java, Python, C Sharp, Ruby, JavaScript. I think Kotlin also it will support. So Selenium supports maybe 5 to 6 languages. Playwright supports 5 to 6 languages, programming languages. Coming to Cypress, it supports only JavaScript. So REST Assured is an API automation library. It is Java-based tool. So when you learn Selenium along with REST Assured, it can help you because Selenium supports only front-end automation. When coming to API automation, REST Assured is popularly used in the market. So API testing framework. So along with Selenium, people are using. So I cannot say the exact percentage in the job market, but if you are having the skill set of Selenium plus REST Assured and maybe APM. APM is for mobile automation. Android and iOS. So if you have these three skill set, right, uh, there can be more job opportunities that can be open up for you. WebDriver IO is like on top of Selenium, they have implemented some additional wrapper on top of Selenium. So it also only support JavaScript. Cypress also supports only JavaScript. So REST Assured is based out of Java, and even other programming languages like C Sharp is also having REST Sharp, and Python is having some API framework like request framework.